Welcome back to Federal Insights, part of the Digital Modernization series. The topic of this week's discussion is automation, sponsored by GDIT here on Federal News Network. My guest today is Rob Smallwood, the Senior Director for Digital Modernization at GDIT. I'm Tom Temin. And Rob, just tell us what the best contemporary role for systems integrators and technology integrators such as GDIT really is in this whole chain of events leading to better automation and modernization.
So I think one of the big things when you're looking at modernization, one you're looking at what capabilities you need internal to the organization, but the other thing you need to have an understanding of is what is available in the industry, right? What is the art of the possible that's actually available to solve some of these legacy problem sets or work activities that we try to work through with our customers. And I think from a systems integrator perspective, that's really where we can provide a lot of the value. One, we can come in and we've done this on other programs, and we can bring lessons learned from other programs, so that there's less upfront work with the customers. But also having, we have an extensive partnership program. Some of your more familiar ones like Cisco's and the Microsofts, but we also have a very robust emergent technologies partner focus, looking at what are the emergent technology firms out there? What are these innovators just now coming out, and what are they providing, and how can we leverage that in our customer environments? One of the things is kind of within the federal government, they're sometimes very hesitant to take advantage of some of these emerging companies, and there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, there's have to make sure that usually they're American-based companies. You have to make sure that they have some kind of FISMA rating or FedRAMP rating, depending on what it is. But from a GDIT perspective, we can help navigate those obstacles, right, to better enable federal agencies to take advantage of these emergent technologies and vendors, because they really do have innovative ways of looking at the problem sets we've been working for years.
Yeah, that point, innovation, I think is something that comes off the lips of almost every agency nowadays. And even if those companies don't have all the FedRAMP and, as you say, the different certifications, if you abstract that on behalf of the agency, then it's a good way for agencies to take advantage of innovation that's probably already been deployed in the private sector, which they also want to match in some cases, and can bring it that way into government more simply than they can if they went directly to those companies.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big driver. They want to take advantage of these things and benefit like the commercial side of things, right? They want to be able to take advantage of those benefits. And the great thing about a lot of these emerging tech vendors, I look at their capabilities and provide me demos, right? And it's like, you completely looked at this completely different than, maybe some of the legacy vendors in the space have looked at it for years. And, it tends to either be a more effective solution or it solves a problem that the legacy vendors just couldn't crack the nut on, right? So.
And we probably could not have a discussion like this without bringing in the topic of artificial intelligence. And tell us where artificial intelligence, from your standpoint, fits into the whole modernization question and the whole automation question.
So I think the question would rather be, where doesn't AI fit into that, right? I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of where AI can be applied within our environments. Whether it's being used to do natural language processing, like with a service desk automated assistant, or whether you're using it to automatically establish service baselines in your environment and then identify anomalies that are occurring so that you can head off an outage, right? And you can make changes prior to something actually going down. That's just scratching the surface. Leveraging artificial intelligence, for example, to help improve your change processes. Change process tends to be a bottleneck, right? But if you've leveraged AI to kind of track, and you know that this type of change or this team or this system that you're impacting has a historical uh, uh, challenge to changes, working that in so that you can have a higher visibility and review of that, and less visibility on some of the ones that are more mundane and repetitive.
All right. And I guess a lot of this points to the other word besides innovation that you hear, and that is agile. And agile is not just a software development term, but in many ways it's an approach to getting projects done and getting the agency forward in terms of modernizing. Do you find that that term applies to the best practices approach, the incremental approach, but the steady march approach at the same time for getting to this next nirvana of better service through automation and modernization?
Absolutely. In fact, internal to GDIT, almost every project that we take on, we work within sprints and epics, and taking it incrementally to move the ball forward. I find in a lot of the systems and things that I'm involved with, it's not necessarily providing a piece of code that works in the environment, right? The minimal viable product many times is something a little bit different, like you have your requirements gathering, maybe that's a sprint. It's about creating something to get some kind of feedback on so that you can move forward and reprioritize things. But agile is kind of permeated everything that we do. So,
And a final question, what's the best composition of the team in the agency that should approach these projects?
So one thing I see, from a legacy perspective, and I kind of talked about this earlier, you have your Windows team, you have your other server team, you have a network team, right? What I'm finding, especially as we're moving to cloud and there's more abstraction either through a public cloud or a private cloud or through these automations we've been talking about, those back end and very siloed capabilities are reducing. And what I'm seeing is people working within product teams, integrated product teams, where you have kind of what I call a full stack engineer, somebody that understands all of the back end infrastructure type stuff, works with the application developer, works with the product owner, works with representation from the user community. For example, you got security in there, and they have a more product focus. And if you need to refer back to that deep expertise in maybe one of those technical areas, that full stack engineer can coordinate that.
All right, lots to think about. I want to thank today's guests as we conclude here. Rob Smallwood is the Senior Director for Digital Modernization at GDIT. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm your moderator, Tom Temin. You've been listening to Federal News Network. For more on this discussion, please visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search GDIT.